These Cardano NFTs are worth a house. In today's video, I want to talk about DEADPXLZ, 1 pixel equals 1 house, and in general, go over everything DEADPXLZ for dummies. Not only are we going to go over DEADPXLZ for dummies, but this video is pretty much DEADPXLZ period. Everything up to date for today, and my opinions alongside a lot of information. So get ready, get strapped in, and get prepared for what's to come in this video, getting you the head start and advantage you may or may not need when it comes to learning about DEADPXLZ. Keep in mind though, I'm not a financial advisor. I am an idiot in my mom's basement, and likely if you're playing with NFTs, there is a lot of chances to get burnt, so please be careful. And before we dive any amount of depth into the video, I want to show you guys my holdings and just disclose that I do have quite a bit of DEADPXLZ. So making this video talking about them obviously does benefit me, but the reason I am talking about them is because I like the project. Otherwise, I probably would have sold all 16 of my normal DEADPXLZ and all 16 of my Metapixels at the high floors we are now, and cashed in, 50,000 plus ADA. But I like the project, and I think there's a lot more potential to it. Therefore, I'm holding it, and I'm also making a video on it to show people what I see in the project. Now, in today's video, we're not only going over the white paper, but we're also going over the Tokenomics for the governance token and utility token of DEADPXLZ. So keep that in mind. And if you're looking to get a DEADPXL, there will be links to the official Pixel website where you can go and see all the latest deals and everything else on what pixels are selling for, what rare attributes are, in a hot right now, and all that good stuff. So keep that in mind. So let's get into the actual video though. Pixels for dummies. All right, this is the April 9th revision, and we're going to start out pretty simple. Just basics of DEADPXLs. There is 10,000 of them. They're a Cardano NFT. And they did start back in March 2021. That's when they were initially pre-minted. There are 10,000 once again DEADPXLs, okay, and there are also 10,000 of the Metapixels. More on that in a second. This collection was minted almost now over a year ago, okay, so about a year and a month ago, and it had a really cool minting system. I can show you that later. Then we also had Metapixels, which right now you can still mint if you have a DEADPXL that doesn't have a Metapixel minted for it yet. You can go to the DEADPXLZ Explorer and mint it there. Okay, so keep that in mind too. If you have a DEADPXL, you can mint it for Metapixel. We're going to be talking more about Metapixels and their utilities as well as the normal DEADPXLs in this white paper, as it is 28 pages. It's going to be a long video, so there's lots of information. This is a derivative NFT. It's based on the original DEADPXLs, and they're essentially just 3D versions of the originals. It was built by Fauna, really cool artist, has some awesome art outside of Pixels as well, and that is pretty much the gist of Metapixels and the original DEADPXLs and how they came to be. Now, the Pixel Explorer, where I just took you. This is the main hub for everything DEADPXLs, and as I said, you will be able to mint your Metapixels here. If you want to buy Metapixels on the secondary market, you'll have to use aftermarket third-party marketplaces like JPEG Store, CNFT.io, and so on. Now, if you do want to make DEADPXLs transactions or buy DEADPXLs, you can buy them on JPEG Store and CNFT.io or other places, but likely you're going to get the best deal and the lowest amount of royalties charged when you're using the Pixel Explorer. That's what I would recommend. Now, we're going to be moving on to the major project milestones. These are things that happened and also things that are coming. It's kind of like a roadmap outlining the general gist of what's going to be talking in this video, but also what's actually happening within the project in terms of development. First, as we mentioned before, the 10,000 pixels sold by using a novel minting mechanism, and it really was novel. I'm going to go show you right now, actually. This was the second season, and essentially people would buy insta drops for, I believe it was 45 ADA at the time, or maybe it was 50 for the second season, and then that ADA would then be turned into an insta drop on the site. You could then click and buy it on the chain. There was multiple chains you can buy from and see what's coming next, and people would try to snipe the really cool ones, stuff like that. But it was really cool. It's an experience that I've never had topped yet from minting any NFTs, and I think it is worth mentioning that this was the start of something innovative, and only more innovation has really came since then. Not long after the second season and the last pixels of the total 10,000 pixels were sold through that model, we also had the Explorer, aka a smart contract marketplace, just tailored for DEADPXLs. This was the second one ever on Cardano. Back then, we didn't really have any smart contract marketplaces. We didn't have CNFT.io, we didn't have JPEG Store, we didn't have Free Roam, we didn't have Artifact, we didn't have any of these. But we did have SpaceBuds Marketplace for SpaceBuds, and then we had DEADPXLZ Marketplace for DEADPXLZ. And now there's a lot more, but the DEADPXLZ Marketplace is probably my favorite marketplace that I've used out of any other one. Just everything about it is very nice, and it's really nice because it is tailored to DEADPXLZ. Last month we had Metapixels mint. This was the official launch. I went ahead and minted all my Metapixels, but I believe you do have quite a bit of time, over a year, to mint your Metapixels if they haven't been minted already from the pixels you're holding. So keep that in mind. You can still mint them if you have the pixels that have not minted the Metapixels, but also keep in mind that with this, we also have the ding that you will be able to stake for and use Metapixels to earn ding on, which I will go more over in the ding tokenomics white paper or paper. So stay tuned for that, but just know Metapixels will be useful for earning ding in a short amount of time when the staking is released. Right now, we are in the phase that is April 2022. The ding tokenomics have been compiled and all the details have been put into a paper. Now, coming later this month is the start of the staking period. This will be a 90-day period. I'm going to go over it more, but just keep in mind this will be coming very soon and is in progress as we speak or as I make this video. After that, we're going to have the third quarter of 2022, which is a little bit of ways, but not that far. It will come up quick. And then we have the bootcamp launch for Pixels, basically the War's first public launch, and allow users to forge and accrue ding using this mechanism. Then we also have Genesis holder rewards. Basically, if you own any of these OG pixels, you will get rewards for people forging with the attributes you hold. And in this phase, we are going to be seeing those rewards be rolled out to the holders of the pixels. Back when I was using an older calculation for how much rewards we would get for 10K players, my 16 pixels with all their attributes were around, I think, 80,000 ADA a year. This is definitely now skewed a lot more and needs a new rework for calculations, but the numbers were very shocking to see. I'm not sure how close we're going to get to that, but I do have high hopes for the amount of ADA or passive income that the Genesis holders are going to be receiving if this game manages to pull off a consistent player base and an enticing model of play to earn. Speaking of play to earn, the first public launch of the PvP play to earn game, the Pixel Wars, will be coming in the third to fourth quarter of 2022. And then after that, we do have ding staking, in-game ding staking for APY. More on this in the ding tokenomics paper. Pixel Wars skirmishes, basically a free-to-play version where you can tell your friends, hey, you can try this out, see if you like it, and try out Pixel Wars without putting any money on the line. Super good for bringing in new users and onboarding people. Lastly, in terms of the project developments and milestones, we have end of year 2022 or early 2023 evolving Pixel Wars, essentially an ecosystem improvement, feature add-ons based on user input data that has been collected from the other public launches, and also project governance through the ding token. Okay, so the project will start to be governed, and this will be put into place by the ding token holders, which is really good to me for a self-sustaining game utilizing blockchain tech. Okay, now we can get into talking about those parts of project development and the intricacies of each one. First off, we have Pixel Wars. Pixel Wars are going to be a play to earn game built on the Cardano blockchain. Users are going to be able to conduct a number of activities, player versus player battles, and skirmishes. These are a version of battling which is free to play, as well as stake their ding tokens and earn ding APY. More on ding APY later. I know you're probably getting bugged about it, but we're going to talk about that in a sec. Pixel Wars will be open to everyone. You don't have to hold one of these, super expensive NFTs. Those NFTs will benefit you in terms of earning ding for the staking period, and also obviously you're going to get passive ADA rewards if people forge your attributes. So there's benefits to holding them, but playing the game is not a requirement to hold these original NFTs. Wars accounts are going to be created in the form of an NFT on the Cardano blockchain. So any relevant game activity and user information, you don't have to log into a new account. It is going to be stored inside a minted token on the Cardano blockchain, where all that information is accessible to everyone, yes, but also To have proof of ownership and verify your account rather than logging in, you can just use your wallet to log in, which is pretty freaking awesome. And yes, this does ensure that you have full ownership of your account. No one can just go in there and mess around with it or, take control of your account. You truly have full ownership of it. Okay, so now let's go over in-game activities. First, we have pixel forging. This is going to be the first step of release on the project roadmap or the project development milestones, and that will be forging your pixel or building your pixel squad. Users will basically be able to build their own custom pixels, which they can then use in PvP battles. The Pixel Wars Playground game will feature 3 main game modes, as I briefly talked about before. The boot camp, you can earn ding while forging the pixels. The PvP, you earn ADA by winning battles, and the skirmish, where you can practice your PvP skills without putting any money on the line. Or rather, without spending too much money to play, you can use the skirmish to get ahead and then decide where you want to enter in the actual PvPs. Some more in-game activities that are included, but not necessarily limited to, are an in-game shop that will allow users to spend ding in exchange for various consumables and cosmetics. These will likely give your pixels and your team an edge in battle if you apply them. We have pixel loot boxes. You can open treasure chests to win in-game purchasable items and award users with precious consumables, cosmetics, or even ding. These will be purchasable in ADA, I believe. Don't quote me on that. We'll discover that later as we go further into the white paper. Ding staking, gain access to upper forge tiers by staking ding and earning APY. Essentially, you have your ding tokens, you can stake them, you get APY on your ding tokens, and gain access to superior forging options and other in-game goodies. There's 3 tiers for the attributes of pixels. We'll talk about more of it later, but essentially the ding staking is going to enable these last 2 tiers, and the first tier will be accessible to everyone. Okay, now let's get into pixel forging. Let's talk about how the heck you're going to actually make your squad and get them into the battlefield. First off is forging. Now, this activity is somewhere where users go ahead, they choose a selection out of the 69 attributes, depending on how many they have unlocked based on their tier, and 5 bases identical to the ones from the Genesis collection to build a forge. And the Genesis collection is the first 10K collection, if that wasn't already clear. Now, once they have that, they can exchange the amount of ADA it is going to cost based on the attributes and the base they pick, and then they will be able to forge a pixel to go and use in the Pixel Wars. 2 more important things to note. In order to be able to participate in a Pixel Wars battle, a user needs to have at least 3 pixels forged, and also the number of pixels forged per user will be capped at 20, which is why I think the skirmishes will be very helpful for min-maxing and figuring out the best builds for your pixels per your account and not wasting too much of your precious ADA. Okay, now we can talk about the tiers of forging, as I mentioned earlier briefly. Basically, there's 3 main tiers. Tier 1, the first 23 attributes out of 69 and a dead base will be available to forge your pixels. There's no participation requirements. Anyone can have access to these. For tier 2, however, to also create demand for ding, which is pretty freaking cool, and to make it a little bit more gamified to get cooler and more rare pixels and probably stronger pixels, you have to have 20,000 ding staked, and you get a 15% APY on that ding staked, returned in ding. Now, that is going to give you tier 1 plus the next 23 attributes and 3 or 2 more bases, the reptilian and the vampire base to choose from, and these will likely be very good or better, or just have different base effects on the game, so keep that in mind. Tier 3 will be requiring you to stake 35,000 ding at a 20% APY, and this will give you access to tier 1, tier 2, and the last 23 attributes out of 69, as well as the werewolf and alien bases to forge. Okay, so now let's talk about the boot camp. Basically, a limited forged pixel staking program introduced before the PvP, before the skirmishes. The first thing, kind of the first step to getting towards there. This is going to allow users to get an early start by forging their pixels and earning ding rewards while they're at it before the actual game comes out, just to get ready and get prepared. And also, it is nice to put something out as a project. I really like this from DEADPXLZ, even if it's not the full game, actually having it in deliverables, which makes sense, and still allow the people invested and the people interested in DEADPXLZ to have something new to take a look at and get excited for. For this event especially, there will be a bootcamp fund of 75 million ding. That'll be up for grabs based on the 90 days of players being rewarded with ding for how much they spend on forging in this program. This is pretty good. It gets a great kickstart to the game and gets the ding in circulation, and also starts putting people's royalties in their pockets for holding Genesis pixels, and gives a lot of people a good indication of progress within the project. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Pixel Wars PvP, pretty much the main driver for the project, the part that matters the most if this is done correctly. And there is a lot to it, so let's get into it. First off, this is going to allow people to use their forged pixels to play against each other and make ADA prizes. That's pretty much the gist of it. That's the point of it. That's how we have to get to. Now, in this PvP game, there is an expectation of excitement, and it is a turn-based gaming experience where users will get to strategize their moves and fully harness the power of their pixels' abilities. So, to me, this is something that is going to be a more simple game, but if done correctly, could be very addicting and a ton of fun for the people involved, and especially when it's play to earn and there is also a free-to-play aspect. There's a lot of future growth potential for not only people who have pixels or have Cardano NFTs to come in, but people who don't really know all about it and can still benefit from trying it out. Also, we're going to be able to integrate, or DEADPXLZ is going to be able to integrate and utilize Cardano's blockchain capabilities and the extended UTXO model. Already, the user experience and the UI that I've seen from DEADPXLZ projects, whether it be the Explorer, whether it be the minting system, they have been blowing me out of the water. Like, the amount of quality that is put into the UI by AF, the project leader, and pretty much the whole team at this point is insane, and I have very high expectations for the game's experience as well. We're just over halfway through the white paper, and now we get into the free-to-play aspect, these skirmishes. The skirmishes are essentially exactly what it sounds like. They are practice runs. You can not have to pay for the forging of pixels in this section of the game. However, your pixels that you will use to practice and try out here will not win you ADA, but they will win you skirmish tickets. So keep that in mind. This is really cool. It allows a free entry point for anyone to come in and test out the game before committing to their actual forged pixels, which they are going to be using their 1 of 20 slots to make each one. And also, this way they can see what is good, what they want to work with, and how they want to utilize their forges on the actual game. In order to participate, you will have to use skirmish tickets, but don't worry, a lot of these tickets are given for free upon creating a new account and are also purchasable from the in-game shop using Ding. Next part of the white paper is more on the in-game shop and the loot boxes. Basically, the shop's going to allow you to acquire several types of in-game items, which can provide an extra edge needed to win, or maybe just make you look really cool. We have consumables, cosmetics, and battle arenas that you can buy from the in-game shops. Consumables are going to be usable both in-game and outside of game, and will consist of special potions which can boost your Pixel Squad's abilities. Cosmetics are special 101 skins with which your forged pixel can equip for a truly unique look. That's pretty cool. Everyone likes skins, especially in game, to show off. And then we have battle arenas that will provide special buffs to your Pixel Squad. That's also very cool. Lastly, we have the loot boxes that can be acquired with ADA and will give out random selection of goodies based on the box rarity. Now, if you're still confused on forging, there is more depth to it here, which I'm going to go over right now. Basically, you need 3 forged pixels in requirement to play PvP. There are 5 pixel bases in the game. The dead one is the most common. This is the one everyone gets for being in the tier 1 of forging, and the other 4 are more rare. The vampire and the reptile are going to be the first 2 you unlock in tier 2. The werewolf and the alien are going to be the first 2 you unlock in tier 3. You can see they do have different stats, different starting lives, and also different attributes that are maxed out. So keep that in mind. This will play a large functionality into the game and the PvP wars going forward. When you're forging and you buy a base, this can support up to 6 forging slots. Each forging slot can be used by one attribute, and each attribute, 69 total, provides special abilities to a pixel, whether it be active or passive. So the more attributes, the more special abilities that a pixel will have. That's likely why the number of max attributes goes down as we have more starting lives and other special effects with the more rare pixels. That also in mind, each forged pixel can have up to 6 lives. No more than 3 identical attributes can be forged per account, and the maximum number of pixels which can be forged by one account is going to be 20. This is where the skirmish is going to come and play a lot and in handy. In order to really maximize your squad, you are going to want to be using the skirmish and testing things out prior. Forged pixels can be removed to free up space, but once forged, a user cannot remove or add attributes on a pixel. Now, more on the bases. Each pixel base has its own stats predestined to it. These are going to be in the form of numeric values: HP, hit points, STR, strength, DEX or Dex for dexterity, and INT or int for intelligence. All of these stats are going to be specifically applied depending on what base you're going to be using here. The dead base is the most common and is going to have the most common stats. You can see here that the stats of a pixel base will be determined randomly from a min-max interval upon forging and reflect the specialty of that base. Also important to note, stats can be improved by forging attributes, and the pixel bases have passive and active native abilities which can be used in battle, the dead base being Kapow and Play Dead for the passive. Attributes can be forged on top of a user's existing pixel bases, provided they're compatible with that specific base. Each attribute comes equipped with its own stats modifiers, either adding or subtracting from the stats of the pixel they are being forged on top of. Each attribute in this scenario also comes equipped with a passive or active, not both, ability which can be used in battle. Here's the chain. This is going to give you 2 health, 2 strength, -1 dexterity, and -2 intelligence. It's going to have a bling passive ability that just gives you a 5% chance to blind the attacking enemy pixel for 1 whole turn. Now, as much as I want to talk more about the game, we also have to think about the economy behind the game, because if the economy doesn't make sense, if the tokenomics don't make sense, then the whole game will go out the window. If no one can play it because it costs too much, or if all of the funds from the ding to the amount of ADA going into the game are not making use of the economy itself and being reinvested, then likely it's going to be hard for the game to survive. In this case, Pixels does have a lot of thought into this, and we're going to talk about it now. So the Pixel Wars economy is going to run on 2 main engines. First of all, we have the ADA treasury. This is going to be fueled by forging pixels, and this is going to be what provides rewards to Pixel Wars PvP winners. Now, the Ding treasury is going to be fueled by in-game purchases with Ding and pay for tier 2 and tier 3 staking APY. So those 2 engines are going to provide stability for maintaining the overall health of the entire ecosystem for the game. And alongside those 2 treasuries, there are a couple of secondary ones equally as important to them for the whole ecosystem to thrive. And those 2 are the Genesis Holders treasury, basically the treasury that's going to be paying out the holders that earn for people forging those pixels that have the attributes that they also own. And then the loot box ADA revenue treasury. This is going to be fueled by any loot box revenue which will be paid for in ADA and serves as collateral and insurance for the health of the ecosystem. Since the introduction of the Ding token has came into the Pixel ecosystem, this does make things a bit more complex, and the original fund distribution model will be evolved to take into account this new complexity. At first, there used to be a season-based Pixel Wars. Basically, every season, pixels that you forge would be scrapped when you go to the next season. Progress would reset in some ways, but now we are going towards a more continuous game flow. There's not going to be seasons, and instead of having your pixels scrapped, each pixel will have a number of lives based on the number of attributes which are forged on each of them, as well as the type of base which is forged, and the minimum will be 1 life. Something to take into note for people really looking into getting those Genesis rewards from holding the pixels is that the forging the forging funds will funnel into the Pixels Wars ADA treasury as well as into the Genesis holder treasury, but it's going to be based on how many attributes are being forged for each pixel. The more attributes that are being forged on one pixel, the more of the total forging cost will be funneled into the Wars ADA treasury and vice versa. So this does balance out nicely. It's not really anything to shake too much of a stick about, but if you're using the old calculations, these will be drastically different and will need a new methodology for getting to the final numbers based on continuous game flow and different player bases. As you can see here, in the long term, this does not affect overall Genesis holder rewards, just the calculator that you may have used before if you were calculating those. But that calculator was not official, it was made by a community member, and we all knew that likely it was not going to be 100% accurate, especially as things evolve in the ecosystem of DEADPXLZ. Also, something to mention, once a pixel has been forged, a user may not add extra attributes on top. This is very important and helps you make use of the skirmishes section, even if not all forging slots have been filled. Now, here's an example of how the treasuries are going to be distributed based on the forging of the pixels. Essentially, the percentages are based off of how many attributes are forged, which treasuries they go to. The fewer the attributes are being forged on a pixel, the more ADA goes to the holder treasury, but at a lower frequency. And the more attributes are being forged on a pixel, a lower percentage of ADA will go to the holder treasury at a higher frequency in favor of higher percentage going to the Pixel Wars ADA treasury. Bases will also be rewarded following the same model with 0 attribute bases to receive a fixed amount of ADA at each pixel forge. If you want to read all this page, you can, but essentially the way the Genesis holders are going to be able to redeem and receive their ADA rewards will be on a familiar rotation basis, based on the number of attributes and the pixel IDs in ascending order. The legendary pixels are going to be receiving percentage of the from deducted loot box revenue, and because rewards are likely different each forge process, the original reward redeem model has also changed into a time-based one. As such, there's going to be an average uniform reward attribute or base calculated at an interval of time in order to create a uniform payout distribution. To put this process into a more easier to understand model, we have the forging pixel. 10 to 60% of the ADA is spent on forging will go to the Pixel Forge ADA treasury, and those ADA rewards will go to winnings of the PvP battles. Also, 90 or 40 to 90% of ADA spent on forging will go to the Genesis holders treasury. Then it will go from the treasury over to the revenue rotation, where it will be distributed to the Genesis pixel holders. Expanding on that, for the game economy, we have another chart which is a bit harder to understand, but essentially in-game purchases made using Ding will then put the Ding into the Ding treasury. Then from the Ding treasury, we have the API staking rewards, which will go to the Ding stakers. The Ding stakers will then also head back over to in-game purchases if they want to use that Ding to buy Ding, or they can trade Ding for exchanges on LPs for whatever else they may want it for, like ADA. In terms of in-game loot boxes, these purchases are going to be made with ADA. A percentage of the ADA goes to the collateral treasury to help ensure the overall health of the Pixel Wars ecosystem, and then percentage of the ADA also goes to legendary Genesis pixel holders. Then with this ADA collateral treasury, we are going to be buying Ding. And when I say we, I mean the treasury is going to be buying Ding with ADA to replenish the treasury. And then this treasury is going to grow. Ding is going to become deflationary in nature, which is pretty awesome. And the world's going to go round. Quick disclaimer, the information presented in this document that we just looked at, and also my opinion, is subject to change at any time without prior notice. The information presented within the document is of a purely informational nature, and nothing which is mentioned within this document is to be considered a guarantee by the project creator or team, or me looking at the white paper. If you want to read the rest, you can. It's a lot of information. Now let's go over to the Dingonomics, which is going to be a huge part of the Pixels ecosystem, and go over how well structured that is to propel future growth for the DEADPXLZ project. Okay, the Dingonomics, the tokenomics of the Ding token, which is the governance and utility token of DEADPXLZ. First, let's start with an introduction. This is going to be, as I just said, the utility and governance token for DEADPXLZ. The supply of Ding, or the total supply, is fixed at 1 billion tokens, which have already been minted using a blocked policy script, which in Cardano slang means no more DING tokens can ever be minted or burned. And you can find it under this policy here. I will have links to the Tokenomics and the white paper in the description if you want to check them out yourself and find any of the links or policy IDs. Real quick refresher, I know we just went over the white paper, some terminology. Pixel Wars, this is the upcoming DEADPXLZ PvP play to earn game. Pixels Forge, the part which allows you to participate in the wars by forging pixels to prepare for PvP battle. Tokenomics is the DING token metrics or the DING tokenomics. Genesis pixels are the original 10,000 DEADPXLZ. Metapixels are the 3D versions of the original 10,000 DEADPXLZ, and there is going to be 10,000 separate of them, assuming they all get minted, but there's 10,000 available. The DEADPXLZ white paper is the project white paper we just went over, and that should be pretty straightforward. Now, let's get into it. The pie. Pretty much where this 1 billion DING is going. The percentages are pretty good from what I can see, and very fair in terms of project health, how these are going to be introduced. So let's start with the ecosystem fund. That's 20%, a good amount. The DING treasury, 55%. And then we have staking in bootcamp. The DING treasury is going to be a fuel for a lot of the whole ecosystem. So it being 55% makes a lot of sense, and only a 10% for the team and advisors, which is pretty reasonable, and it's not out of the question that this is too much compared to a lot of other projects. This is a very small slice of the pie. Okay, now let's go over the release schedule of the DING. This is equally as important, especially when we're talking about team and advisors amounts. If they could just sell off all of their DING right at once, or all of their token that's going to be worth a lot on release likely, then they would do so and exit the ecosystem and not build anything. But in this case, that's not the case, and we have a gradual circulation supply, and there's going to be a lot of mechanics that provide the token with all the necessary prerequisites for sustainable economic growth. This is a graph of it. I'm not going to try to explain the graph. You can look at it and digest it for yourself, but I will tell you the numbers and behind of what kind of makes up this graph. First, we have the pixel staking and bootcamp. This is 15% of the total 1 billion DING. The first half of this is going to be totaling 75 million DING. This will be put into circulation via Genesis Pixels and the Metapixels staking program. 56 million to the Genesis Pixel holders, 11 million to the Metapixel holders, and 6 million, pretty much 7 million to the community DAO treasury. Genesis Pixels will be able to earn up to 10,000 DING while they stake their pixel, and Metapixels will be able to earn up to 2,000 DING for staked Metapixels. This will be based on the stake token's rarity, so keep that in mind when you are staking your pixels. There is no lockup periods on staking your pixels, but there is penalties, and you will miss out on some extra DING if you choose to take those pixels out of staking before the total 90 days is up. If you want to pause the video here, you can see the total basically penalties are going to be applied if you take out your staking. And here is the reward calculation formula if you want to digest that for yourself. Now, put simply, this is going to allow people to have their pixels and stake them. It's going to be a 90-day period to bootstrap that DING to the pixel holders, which is really good. We're not just throwing it in the wallet, but we're actually making people take their pixels off the marketplace, and they are going to be put into a smart contract to earn DING. It's a really good way of doing it. I like it a lot. It's a little bit more information on this, and it is going to be pretty streamlined process all in all, with a preparation phase to get your pixels starting in the stake before you actually start accumulating DING, so you can be prepared for when this goes live. And it is only going to be 90 days, and that's it. And then once that is over, the staking program will commence, and you will be able to unstake your pixels and do whatever else you want with them. Basically, what I just said, there is a preparation of 7 days, the DING accrual period. You can take your pixels off of staking whenever you want, but there is penalties. And then there's an after accrual period where harvesting can also be conducted 30 days after the 90-day accrual period is ended. After this 30-day grace period, the leftover funds will be added to the community DAO treasury. So that's how you're going to get DING if you have pixels or metapixels. If you want to pick up some metapixels or pixels, I will leave links to the Explorer in the description, and also the JPEG store link for the metapixels. Both of them are quite pricey right now, I'm not going to lie, but both of them will also get you a say in governance for pixels projects going forward. This is being deployed this month likely, and the rewards per pixel will be made available on the Pixel Explorer very soon, likely shortly after this video or within the month, because that is when the actual preparation stage is starting too. So keep an eye out for that if you're wondering how much ding you're going to be rewarded for staking your pixels. If you want some examples, I'll let you pause the video and read them now. It's pretty straightforward. Essentially, if you have a Genesis pixel or if you have a Metapixel, you grab that and you want to put it into staking as soon as possible if you want to maximize the amount of ding you have, and also not take it out of staking until the time is up. So that's what I'm going to be doing. It's pretty simple. If you want to worry about how much ding you're going to get and how to not miss out on ding, you can read these examples for yourself, but they are pretty straightforward based on what we talked about earlier and the penalties coming into play. Next up, we have the Community DAO Treasury. This is the forefront of self-governance for DEADPXLZ, and out of the unharvested remaining ding from the staking program, that's 15%, that will all be going back into the Community DAO Treasury alongside a seed amount of 6.7 million ding. So of this 15%, 6.7 million of it is going to the Community DAO Treasury. This fund is going to be pretty useful. I'd say a lot of ding is going into it to start. It's going to allow the fund to bootstrap, have some incentives, and also put that ding back into the DEADPXLZ ecosystem to make it even better. And anyone inside the community with ding will be able to govern and come into this ecosystem to make it better for themselves. A number of prominent people are going to be community members and signed as signatories of the wallet. It's going to be a multi-sig wallet. Hopefully I'm one of them. That's, I'm going to be bagging. It'd be really cool to do that and be participating in this community, but there is a lot of great community members that are definitely eligible for that. The Community DAO Treasury Fund is subject to the following vesting schedule: equal monthly amounts for 1 year period. This fund, together with ding coming for pixel staking, will make up half of the pixel staking and bootcamp distribution and will net 75 million ding. The second half of the 150 million ding will be 75 million. That's half of 150 million. And this is going to be basically for people who are forging pixels in the bootcamp stage of the upcoming PT game, Pixel Wars. This program, the bootcamp program, will be introduced after staking goes live and allows users to forge pixels by spending ADA and gaining ding as an incentive for doing so within that first 90-day period. Any leftover ding from this will be assigned to the Community DAO Treasury. Speaking of the Treasury, it already has $500 million ding allocated to it from the Pixel Wars, and this is going to serve as both a reserve for distributing ding into the Cardano ecosystem in the form of Pixel Wars ding staking rewards, as well as a collector for in-game ding spending. This is a lot of the total supply, over 55%, as there is other things that come into play here, and this will be a critical mass for creating a balance between the funds it holds and the overall circulating supply of 1 billion. As I mentioned earlier in the video, there will be the ability to stake ding at predetermined rates, 15% for 20,000 ding and 20% for 35,000 ding. 15% unlocking tier 2 of forging and 20% unlocking tier 3. All the APY harvestings are subject to unlock periods, which are to be determined at the moment of this article. You will be able to spend ding on various in-game items and cosmetics, which will in turn give you an edge in Pixel Wars, thus enabling anyone who uses these in-game items to earn more ADA by winning more PvP battles. This fund does not require any external management, as it only unlocks ding in the form of Pixel Wars staking APY, so it's automated. Next up, we have the Ecosystem Fund. This is going to be 200 million ding. This will be allocated to the project ecosystem, which will bankroll the acquisition of key strategic services from developers, marketers, artists, and other verticals which are in vital sustaining of a thriving project. The project ecosystem fund will undergo a vesting schedule, which will then see 10 million ding unlock once every 3 months for 5 years. A long-term approach on all the vesting schedules is really what I like to see out of any tokenomics, and this is no exception. This fund will be managed by exclusively the project owner with input from community and advisors. Lastly, we have the team and advisors. This is 100 million ding, 10% of the supply, and it'll be allocated to the DEADPXLZ team and advisors working on the project. A vesting schedule will be imposed consisting of 1 year of initial lockup, where the team cannot touch it, and after which funds will be unlocked on a monthly basis for the following 3 years of equal tranches of 2.7 million ding. So this is pretty good, a whole year lockup before anyone can touch it from the team, and overall I do like this a lot. It is going to be managed by the product owner AF exclusively, but I do have a lot of faith in AF, and I really like AF as a person and as someone who has built a ton of innovative things on Cardano already. Here's a little disclaimer, but that's pretty much the end of the video. If you like DEADPXLZ, if you're interested, all the links are down in the description, including the DEADPXLZ Twitter. A lot of people have been checking out DEADPXLZ lately, and I do think that with the success of this PvP game and a lot more interest, this follower count is not going to remain so low for such a little amount of time. DEADPXLZ has now been around for a whole year, and I really do think they're here to stay and build an ecosystem, as the Tokenomics suggests and as a ton of community support suggests, as well as the floor price of the collections that they have created. A lot of good things are coming, a lot of good things have yet to come, and a lot of good things have come and passed with this project. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. It's been your friend Jack. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Oh yeah, and 1 pixel equals 1 house. But you didn't hear that from me, and it's just satirical, funny joke. It's not real.